the community through the promotion of generationally based conversations. Through this work, we gain nonpartisan professional skills as we practice forms of historic memory dialogue, anchoring discussions to the past as we anchoring discussions to the past means that our panelists will be telling stories from their individual lived experiences. Please keep in mind that several of our panelists served during wartime and will share about those experiences. Please note that people of different generations may use different words or phrases tied to when and where they grew up and the types of experiences they've had. We ask that participants offer respect and tolerance for generational differences in self-expression. The views of panelists and audience members do not necessarily reflect that of the Civics Corps, affiliated individuals and organizations, or Bay College. This event is being recorded. Participation grants the Civics Corps and its partners unrestricted use for promotional and educational purposes.
Thank you, Chloe. My name is Sam, and it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, Miss Judith Aftergood, who is an author, speaker, consultant, and the director of Honoring Institute. Her Ways of Honoring workshop offers tools for finding the best response in any situation, no matter how difficult, and for coming to an experience of inner peace during challenges. Judith's work focuses on visions, strategies, and actions aligned with everyone's life purpose on their direction. Her own life purpose is to plant seeds of honoring in the world. Judith has worked as a journalist, facilitator, and consultant in government, nonprofit organizations, and the private sector. She presents her workshops nationally and internationally. Judith holds a bachelor's degree in English and American literature from Washington University in St. Louis. She currently lives in Portland, Oregon. Please welcome Ms. Aftergood.
Thank you, Samantha, for the introduction. I'm happy to be here tonight with all of you. I was once part of a group whose mission was to honor and empower all generations, so I truly appreciate that focus. I wrote a book based on interviews with old-timers in Alaska. I would ask one or two questions, and sometimes they talked for hours. Their ideas helped me to be who I am, and I am part of that older generation now. Along with the veterans tonight, I honor my mother, bipolar with dementia. She taught me to honor, that is, to make the best choices, even when a situation isn't good. She knew when she was being respected, even with dementia. She taught me to listen deeply, including for what wasn't being said. I believe that land is holy. I believe that stories are sacred. I believe that one way to wisdom is by exploring the experiences of our lives with other people. To the veterans, I say, we honor your decisions, your choices, your courage, what you did and what you didn't do. To protect us, you put your life at risk. The stories you tell are another gift to us. As a Civics Corps member said to me, your stories are history's building blocks. A teacher looks for answers, said a teacher I had. A speaker asks a question and tells a story. A community college professor told me once, you can't teach honoring, you can only tell stories about it. There's a power in storytelling. In the case of veterans, your story honors the difficult choices a soldier must make, those who fought, provided support, and those who didn't come back. There are many ways to honor. It happens moment to moment. Celebrate, appreciate, respect, bear witness, be present to what is occurring. Tonight, I will ask a few questions. You might answer them yourself. Whether you're a veteran or not, and I fit into the second category, who in your life are you honoring here tonight? Perhaps like me, you're honoring the people you didn't ask about their military experiences. My father, my uncles. my high school boyfriend who came back different from Vietnam. Tonight, I honor them too. I honor my friend Bill, an African-American who grew up on the White Mountain Apache Reservation. He worked in communications. These days, he supports cancer survivors like himself. As important as what he did in war, he says, is what he's doing now. Perhaps you're honoring a soldier who didn't carry guns, the medics, cooks, mechanics. I'm honoring my friend Peg and her husband Bob, excuse me, who loved being a Marine. I'm going to take a sip here. His commitment to not leave anyone behind has shaped his life. Together, their commitment is to family. These days, Peg is impressed by how much support their 25-year-old granddaughter, a captain, receives. Her instructor said, "Stay in the service and you'll be a general." One thing that leads to loving, whether a family member, a colleague, or a friend, is that you love each other and you love a commitment outside of yourselves. I think the veterans here know that kind of love for their families, comrades, and like all of us, for our country. I honor my friend Mike, who expressed appreciation daily, although he wasn't a veteran. After his father's death, Mike wrote, "Appreciate and acknowledge people like the water of our childhood. Clean, pure, cheap, priceless, and plentiful. That water was life-giving. It was everywhere. Just take a sip." Water, food, and shelter are necessities of human life. We wither physically and emotionally without love and respect. Being acknowledged, appreciated, and treated well is essential for us to thrive. When I was very young, Mike wrote, I wanted to know if a plant needed water. He said his mother gave me practical advice. "Stick your finger in the pot," she said. "If it's dry, water it." There must be an equivalent phrase for human beings, Mike wrote. I think we need acknowledgement and appreciation the way plants need water and sunlight. Mother Teresa said, "There's more hunger for love and appreciation in this world than for bread." Do you know how powerful listening is? I invite us all to listen tonight as deeply as we can, to listen from our hearts for what's said and also for what's not being said. Imagine as we listen, we construct a container, like a bowl into which you pour water. Just as water fills the shape of a bowl, our invisible listening container empowers the speakers and each other. The bigger the bowl's capacity, the more a speaker can say. What's your hope for this evening? Mine is that we all experience being honored, appreciated, and acknowledged. I hope tonight helps us to heal. To the veterans, I hope you experience how much your voice counts and the value of what you did. To the students, keep asking questions of generations old and young. I don't know anyone my age who doesn't wish, before it was too late, that they'd asked more about the lives of the people around them. To the audience, since we're hosted by Civics Corps and the Bay College students, let's create a container made of listening and appreciation that's much bigger than a bowl, as big as the bay where Bay College sits, as big as Lake Michigan. Thank you all for who you are, and let's hear from our veterans.
Thank you for your inspiring words, Ms. Aftergut. To get started with our dialogue tonight, we're going to do a short round of introductions of our panelists. We are honored to have with us, starting off with Mr. Bill Balabino. Mr. Balabino is a U.S. Merchant Marine veteran of World War II. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, he ultimately joined the Merchant Marine and on his first convoy went to France with military supplies. He also traveled to locations in the Pacific theater of the war. He served as a radio officer during the war and continued to serve in our merchant fleet for several decades. Mr. Balabino has been one of AMMV's top advocates of its own history, and he was present at the official World War II Merchant Mariners Congressional Gold Medal ceremony in 2022. This morning, Mr. Balabino was a special guest in the White House where he had brunch with President Biden before attending the National Veterans Day program at Arlington Cemetery. Afterwards, we'll have Mr. Tony Haas. Mr. Haas served in the Army starting in 2002 as an infantryman on active duty for over 21 years, retiring as a Master Sergeant in 2024. He was stationed all over the country and world, including 4 years conducting combat operations in Iraq and Syria. He has served as a drill sergeant and senior military science instructor at Rutgers University ROTC program. He holds a master's degree in public administration from the University of Texas and is a graduate of professional military education courses. Next, we'll have Mr. Hamp Lee. Mr. Lee joined the U.S. Air Force in 1995, serving as a C-130 aircraft maintenance specialist before transitioning into the administrative career field. He served in various leadership roles and was the program manager for Air Force Handbook 1. His overseas assignments include deployments in support of Operations Southern Watch and Enduring Freedom. He also holds a Master of Divinity from Ambridge University. Then we'll have Ms. Terry McGinnis. Ms. McGinnis was a pararescue specialist in the United States Air Force with a career from 1988 to 2002. She was trained in water survival and rescue and survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, and earned advanced medical training credentials. She was the only female PJ in any of the units or groups that she served with. She was stationed in Texas, New Mexico, Washington, and California, with temporary tours of duty in Jamaica, the Azores, and Colorado. Her longest assignment was to the 129th Rescue Wing at Moffett Federal Airfield in Sunnyvale, California, where she was involved with many civilian search and rescue missions. And finally, we will have Mr. James Kolke. Mr. Kolke's military career spanned 29 years from 1990 to 2019 with 3 different services: the United States Marine Corps, the United States Army Reserve for 2 periods, and the United States Army as an officer. During his career, he spent 10 years overseas in various duty assignments in various locations like South Korea, Somalia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. His career awards include the Bronze Star Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and Expeditionary Medal, 2 Meritorious Service Medals, 2 Marine Corps and Navy Achievement Medals, 5 Army Commendation Medals, 2 Army Achievement Medals, and the NATO Medal. Thank you to our panelists.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, I'm Abby, and it's an honor to have this distinguished panel of veterans with us tonight. Before we continue, I'd like to review some guidelines for the event with everyone. 1, for the best viewing experience for both panelists and our audience, please select the gallery view setting. We ask everyone to avoid interruptions or side conversations and to please remain muted if not speaking. Our goal is to allow all of our panelists to have an opportunity to share. Respect and kindness are paramount. Differences of opinion are respected. Kindness and compassion are our goals. And as we listen and honor the diversity and equality of all here today. After the panel discussion, we'll host a trivia and then Q&A sessions. For the question and answer period, we will not use Zoom's type chat, but rather please use Zoom's raise hand feature found in Zoom's tool menu. And as time allows, we'll take questions tied to panelist memories. Please be brief and respectful. Lastly, anyone attempting to disrupt or politicize this event from its focus will be removed. The audience also is asked to refrain from interjecting during the panelist time. We thank everyone for their cooperation and for attending. Now let's begin our panelist discussion in which they will answer a series of questions to their comfort. Per question, the panelists will be allowed to keep their initial answers 2 to 3 minutes long, as we want to allow time for them to reflect and discuss topics with each other intergenerationally. We will now welcome Mr. Balabino to answer our first question, which is, Mr. Balabanow, please tell us the story about when you started your service career and why did you choose the branch that you did?
I'm sorry I have a hearing problem and I didn't get all your questions, but why did I join the Merchant Marine?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
I joined the Merchant Marine because when the World War II started, I was a 16-year-old kid at school. And I immediately foolishly quit school to join the service. And I was rejected by all the services, the Marines, the Army, Navy, Coast Guard. They all wouldn't have me. So I loafed around the house a couple of years and my mother said, son, you're going to either go to school or you're going to get a job. I didn't like either of those offers, so I worked and finally found the Merchant Marine who would take sailors that were in bad physical shape as I was, and I spent from 1944 until 1946 in the Merchant Marine, commercial, military, and then I spent 33 years as commercial Merchant Marine.
Whoever would like to go next with the first question can go ahead.
I can restate if needed.
Nice job.
Thank you. Was there another question, a follow-up for me?
If you'd like, Mr. Balabano, you can talk about the Merchant Marine.
What'd she say?
Can you repeat question? Can you repeat the question?
Samantha,
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like, you can go ahead and tell us about the Merchant Marine.
oh, okay, about the Merchant Marine. I would like to read that, please.
Absolutely.
Each more like that.
Okay. I wish to thank Dr. Lees for arranging this meeting. Most of us are aware that our great nation is guarded by various branches of the military, notably the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Coast Guard and the Air Force. Many of us do not know that there was another branch, and that's the U.S. Merchant Marine. This branch was founded in June 12th, 1775, making it the oldest branch of all the defenders, and has served in every war and in every retaliatory action since we were a nation. Concentrating a little on the Merchant Marine itself, over 250,000 men volunteered to join the Merchant Marine to deliver the goods and the troops, and 95% of all the world of all the 95% of all the world material necessary to win this war. Trucks, gasoline, tanks, airplanes, food, clothing, and the very troops themselves. You name it, and we delivered it. Notice I said that these were all volunteers. Every man, bar none, volunteered to do his duty. Not one of them was drafted. Some of these guys were in their mid-70s, maybe even 80s. Some were missing limbs, some faulty eyesight, but they all were unfit for duty. We each, however, found our way to the Merchant Marine recruiting station. We were permitted to fight, but for our country. Of these 250,000 men who marched off to war, over 9,000 were lost due to enemy actions. Over 12,000 were injured. The U.S. Merchant Marines suffered the highest per capita fatality rate of all the branches of the military in World War II. With all these casualties and injured mariners notwithstanding, the Merchant Marine were not granted veteran service status until almost 40 years later, after the end of the World War II, that a law was enacted proclaiming such status, and that was in 1988. Then a bit of recognition was, and I repeated what I've said before, on March 14th of 2020, the then President Donald Trump authorized the Congress to award the Congressional Gold Medal of Valor to the courageous group. Here is a replica of that. What is it? Somebody's, and I talked about that before. The actual gold medals at the Kings Point, New York, at the Merchant Marine Academy, and I thank you for your attention.
Good job, Bill.
Thank you.
Good job, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Balabino. We very much enjoyed your story. We'd like to invite our other panelists to discuss question 1, which is, please tell us the story about when you started your service career and why you chose the branch that you did.
Well, that's it. I started this because nobody else would have me. Actually, that's the truth. All these services refused me, but I chose to get into the war somehow. So I tried the Merchant Marine, and bingo, I became a Merchant Mariner.
There you go.
Enough?
Very good. Hamp, would you like to go next for us?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. A great story, Bill. Thank you so much for sharing your story. For me, I'm currently active duty. So I am finishing up a 30-year career in the United States Air Force. So I will retire on February 1st. So I'm currently in an internship, finishing out my enlistment with Veterans for All Voters. But I started in 1995 in the military. And before that, I played basketball and was on a scholarship. And in my second year, so I'm 6 feet 5 inches. So I played basketball for 2 years, and my scholarship wasn't renewed after my sophomore year. And being from Compton, California, that's where I was born in South Central, raised in Compton, California. I had a lot of friends that were doing a lot of things that was not positive. So they were selling drugs, robbing banks, and getting into credit card scams. And I didn't want to get into those type of things. So I wanted to do something positive with my life, and I wanted to finish school. And I didn't have a way to pay for school. So I decided to join initially the Marines. But my girlfriend at the time told me that I wasn't Marine material and I should choose to join the Air Force. So I think that was a great decision for her. I appreciate her honesty. So that worked out for me, at least in that situation. But we come in for one reason, in the military, many people come in for many different reasons, but then you stay for another reason. And oftentimes one of the questions that you're asked is, when did you join the Air Force, or when did you join the military? And then when did you join the military? So for me, I joined in 1995 of January. And then when I really felt that I was committed to the Air Force was June of 2002, when I was deployed to Saudi Arabia, when I really said, okay, I'm very committed to serving my country and the course that I'm going on and having this opportunity to serve in that manner. So thank you so much for the question. I appreciate it.
Tony, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I definitely will. And Bill and Hamp, thanks both of you for sharing your stories too. Mine's kind of similar, really, kind of a little bit of a synthesis of both of those, right? So after high school, I graduated from high school in 2001, about 3 months before 9/11 happened. Uh, I kind of I tried to go to college. I kind of started about a brief half semester and quickly realized that I wasn't quite emotionally mature enough to be successful on my own at college. So I kind of bounced around. Worked a couple of jobs that were not great. Was kind of trying to figure things out. 9/11 happened, and shortly after that, I showed up to the recruiter's office. My dad was in the Navy. He retired from the Navy, did 23 years in the Navy, and I talked to him about my the fact that I was thinking about joining the military, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll drive you to the Navy recruiter office tomorrow." And I said, "No, Dad, I'm not joining the Navy. I chose the Army just to make you mad." So I needed a haircut and a job, and they were offering both, so I showed up, and I got the 2-for-1 special. And just like Hamp said, I thought I would do 3 or 4 years, get out, and then hopefully with this newfound maturity and drive, I would go be successful in college later. But um, I came back from our first deployment, and we got a new platoon started. I got a new leader, a new supervisor, and he was just one of the best leaders I'd ever worked for in my life. And that was really the reason I chose to stay. Right, a lot of us join for a lot of different reasons. You join for patriotism, you join for money for college, whatever the reasons are. A lot of people join for a lot of different reasons, like Hamp said. Everybody stays for the same reason though, and it's because of the people, right? You work with incredible people. You're surrounded by all this, just incredible energy, and it's really hard to let it go. And that's why I ended up staying for a couple decades until eventually my wife was like, "This is enough. I'm no more moving. We're settling down somewhere." So, yeah, that was what brought me in. And yeah, the army, the decision to join the army as opposed to any of the other branches was literally just a petty decision to upset my father, and it worked out really well. I actually really enjoyed the entire time I was there. So, yeah, that's my origin story.
Thank you.
Would you like to go next?
The things that you have said, fit in where you get in is sort of what Bill said and how he got along, that you join and you join again. All of that resonates with me so much. I grew up on a farm in the middle of California here, and I grew up in a many generational home. So we lived with my great grandfather and all of the, all of the 21 people. And every man in my family served of some way or another. They flew planes during World War II. They all had jobs. It was very important. It was instilled in all of us that we were to respect the military people, that we should communicate with them, that we should recognize the importance that work that they have done to reach, just not really reach out across the aisle, but they reach across the miles of where we are. And when we do that here in America. So my father only had me, so there was no male heir to follow the tradition of all the men going to the military. So I said I would do it. And my family was all Air Force. And when I went to do the testing, the ASVAB testing, I tested that I was most appropriate for the Air Force, and nobody told me different. And so I graduated high school on a Friday, and I started boot camp on Monday. So I got on a plane from Modesto, California, and flew to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas in the middle of summer. So it was a shock to me in all of the ways that it can be. And I did my boot camp, which is 8 weeks. And then they kept tapping me for more training. So that's how I ended up being pararescueman by the end of the 2 years of training that I got. And that's a whole that work is a whole separate story. But I joined because we had the family legacy, and I joined because I wanted to go to college and I couldn't afford it. And the GI Bill in 1988 is not the GI Bill post 9/11. So I got the GI Bill, and $10,000 is more money than I had, but it was not enough to get my 4-year degree at UC Davis. And still, I was grateful for it. It helped. So I was doing not online courses, because we didn't have that back then, but I was doing correspondence courses from whatever base I happened to be training at so that I could get my work done. And it even though it turns out that the GI Bill doesn't cover college back in those days, it did allow me really to get in to do college work with college age people at the same time as I was learning all of these very important, very specific skills, life-saving rescue skills. And it taught me a lot about, how you look at humanity and how you instantly judge something. And as I was learning how to triage people, but then when I took that to my personal life, that's not really how you treat people. You don't triage people when you're looking at them. So it taught me a lot of how to take in all the skills that the Air Force was teaching me so fast. I am so grateful for all of that. And those became really the founding steps or the building blocks to everything I can do today. It taught me to listen. It taught me to respect. It taught me to work in a team. It taught me to trust the person next to me, that they would help save my life. And those skills I don't use a lot of those skills in my everyday civilian life. But they are transferable. And so for that, I'm grateful. And really it taught me how to take clear directions. It taught me how to take a direction and not have to give feedback for it, because that's not good. And it really introduced me to different groupings of people, and being the only female in my entire unit in any of the training courses I went through was different. And it created a lot of opportunity for conversations with people when we wouldn't have been talking about real life. And so for me, it was really helpful to learn how to break down the barrier around how do we talk about what women can do or men can do, and the comparison that is not necessary. So it was good fun. I'm glad I did it. And having my father come to my graduation when I was done with my training, and he pinned my pin on me, and all of that made it all worth it. Brought it back around.
That's so cool. Awesome. James, would you like to finish us off with our question number 1?
Sure. Thank you again for tonight. I was born and raised in Marquette, Michigan. And my story is pretty unique. I had the opportunity to be in 3 different services. The United States Marine Corps. I joined 23 May 1990, and I had a 6 years active duty in the Marine Corps. Part of the reason why I joined the Marine Corps at the time was I needed a little more discipline in my life, and I wanted to travel. After the Marine Corps, I got out in 1997. I joined the Army Reserve to continue my federal service in the Army Reserve. I was a reserve member up in Marquette, Michigan. And while I was in the reserves, I decided to go to school and get my degree in criminal justice and history. at Northern Michigan University. So I did 4 years in the regular Army Reserve, and then I had an opportunity come up to join what was called the Active Guard Reserve Program in the Army Reserve. And my duty assignment was a retention transition NCO for that Army Reserve unit. And I was able to basically network, interact with many members of the military as well as the civilian population, and be able to coordinate different activities with Northern Michigan University and some of their college programs up in Marquette, Michigan. After the reserves, I wanted more, so I pursued my career as a commissioned officer by going through the Army ROTC program at Northern Michigan and got my commission in 2005. I did 15 and a half years as a commissioned officer in the active Army and retired in October 2019. And I had many great opportunities, great experiences, and it was always a great experience to develop future leaders and to be able to continue to talk to those leaders throughout my time while I've been retired. And once again, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. I apologize. I'm on my cell phone, so I don't have a gallery view button. But thank you again for this opportunity tonight.
Well, we appreciate you appreciate having you here with us. Let us go on to the next question. Can you recall a entertaining, supportive, or inventive moment during your time of service that helped boost morale or lift the spirits of yourself and others? And Bill, would you like to start us off?
Mr. Beloveno, you're muted.
Good, Bill.
I started out as a kid on the streets. I was headed for the jailhouse, but I joined and learned discipline. And after several years of saying yes, sir, and no, sir, I found out that that was the best road. And I continued to try to maintain that caliber. Thank you.
Tony, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm trying to think of a really good anecdote. It'd be very entertaining, but I will say, so my last deployment in Syria, we were living in a very kind of austere camp, right? Like just tiny little tents that we had like 4 people shoved into. Like it was just not super comfortable living conditions, right? And my battalion commander was a lieutenant colonel. He's the senior ranking officer on our little camp. Every morning I'd get up and I'd walk out of my tent, to go walk over to kind of start the day, right? And almost every morning I would see him coming out of our latrine, like our bathroom area, like carrying bags of trash and walking around and like picking up trash around the camp and like just trying to make it a little bit better for everybody else there, right? And I thought this is the senior ranking person. He's in charge of everybody, the whole like 150 souls that are on this camp, and he's walking around picking up trash every morning. And it was just to me, it was just like an indication, like a demonstration of really like selfless leadership, right? Like really just modeling the kind of behavior that you want to see in other people. And early in the deployment, I would see him going around picking up trash in the mornings. Toward the end of the deployment, I would see a lot more people walking around with him picking up trash at the end of the day, right? And it just really was an incredible like demonstration of the power of leading by example and motivating others to do the right thing. And it's a very small thing, but it's something that I think is going to stick with me for a very long time.
That is pretty cool, pretty neat. Terry, would you like to go next?
Well, the thing that came most to mind, or hardest to my brain, I guess, is okay, so when 9/11 happened, I was not working that day. I happened to be at my parents' house and asleep. And that's 60 miles from San Francisco, so close. And I thought my mother was waking me up. And it was the earthquake from all the way from San Francisco rocking my bed that was waking me up. And so, there I was. And so immediately my pager went off and I was recalled back to base. So there was not a fast way to get there. And I was stationed at Moffett, which is in Mountain View, and California, which is near the Bay Area where all the catastrophic bridge collapse situations were happening. And my unit is rescue and recovery. So we were very busy very quickly. And I got a helicopter ride from the Modesto airport because the freeways were jammed. So they got us rides for helicopters to get to the base. We all loaded up our gear and then helicoptered or convoyed into the Bay Area. And the people who were telling us what to do and where to go were not familiar with the way the Bay Area works, or some of the things were specific to that area. And so in the beginning, we were really stumbling. And then we made a couple of structural things safe and rescued some people, which was what we were supposed to do in conjunction with the fire department and the police that were there. The part of the bridge that collapsed was a complicated thing for all of the agencies to work with to get around. So we were back and forth to do work there and try to do excavations and try to make things safe. And then we were released from that task. And we started doing midnight flies from Moffett Airfield to Palm Desert in simulation and training for us to jump out of a plane or a helicopter, land in a war zone, and look for someone who is injured, because that's a lot of the role that I'm supposed to do. So we did this every night for weeks because we weren't deployed initially. There was nowhere to go. We didn't have a mission. So we would every night at midnight leave Moffett Airfield, fly for about an hour, jump out of an aircraft, grab up all our stuff, hike, look for whatever we're supposed to look for, and then get back to the other base. So it was a lot of hard work. We were afraid or nervous or whatever feelings people had, anxious. And we were doing this task that felt repetitive, and maybe for some reasons people thought they were being reprimanded. Like, it was just, people had a lot of feelings, and there are sometimes in military feelings are good and sometimes when they're in the way. So one night we got on the plane, we're there, we're ready to jump out, everybody's got their parachutes, all their gear on, and I started singing hi ho, it's off to work we go. And I got a lot of people mad about that earworm coming at them. But by the time we had all jumped and hit the ground, and you could hear them singing while they're falling through the air, hi ho, hi ho. So by the time we got to the ground, we're laughing. And when we started to pack up our gear and started to hike down the wherever we're going, we were singing. So every night after that, it wasn't hi ho, but it was some song that helped get us, back in the right frame of mind. Like, this is not dumb what we're doing. We're really doing this important thing, and we're going to keep doing it and keep doing it. So we're ready to do it when somebody is actually shooting at us. So that is the most recent kind of thing that I stirred up some fun in my last unit.
That's awesome. very inspirational. I love it. James, would you like to go next?
Sure, I'll keep this pretty quick. Um, the one time I would have to say when I took company command of 77 intelligence officers and soldiers in Afghanistan in 2011. My company of soldiers have already been in country for 5 months, and we just got an extension to our 9-month deployment to 15-month deployment. Basically, we gathered at the company headquarters, had a change of command, and I had an opportunity to give them a pep talk and focus on a few things about their training, as well as their senses. And sometimes on senses, I would say sixth sense of knowing what's around your surrounding areas. And then striving for excellence in the trade craft that my soldiers were responsible for in 3 Afghan provinces of Logar, Wardak, and Ghazni provinces. Basically, the pep talk, talking about their training. Each one was a professional and knew what was right. They had to make good, sound decisions, and they also had to take care of their soldiers that they were responsible for. The senses that we had to acquire while in a deployed environment. And in the intelligence tradecraft, we were primarily responsible for human intelligence, signals intelligence, and counterintelligence operations. What was supposed to be a 9-month operation, and it got extended to 15 months. So we talked about senses, and then our excellence in trying to provide the battlefield commanders with the most up-to-date information so that those commanders could make a decision. And it affected a lot of lives, and it was an interesting moment because all those 77 soldiers were already in country for 5 months, and then being told that you're getting extended from a 9-month tour to a 15-month tour. Everyone was kind of deflated. So I would have to say the pep talk was needed. It got everyone motivated again, and we returned back to our home station of Fort Hood, Texas, with all 77 soldiers from that deployment. And I would
Wow.
have, that was probably the most motivating and time that I can reflect on.
Wow, that's really impressive. Hamp, would you like to close us out on question number 2?
Oh, yes, yes. I'll share maybe one of my entertaining stories. Probably around the late 90s, I was stationed in Japan as a C-130 crew chief. And every holiday season, the Air Force sends relief supplies down through the Micronesian islands, about 7,500 miles from here. So we would travel from Japan to Guam, and that'll be our base of operations. And then every day we would travel to one of the different islands. So one of them was, first one was Palau. And being 6'5", there are people playing basketball. So I started playing basketball with some of the kids. Next thing you know, I'm Michael Jordan and I'm signing autographs. And so the next day we come back and they say, hey, we're just going out. It's another island. It's called Truk. And it's about like less than 2 hours out. We don't need our clothes. We're just going to do a quick out and back and we'll be good. So I think you hear the trouble coming. So we get out there. Now the plane breaks. So now the plane breaks. We have engine problems. Now it's going to take about a week for us to get the parts that we need to get the plane fixed. So on this island, there are no street lights. There's no television. There's radio. And then if you know about VHS tapes, they only had Betamax tapes at the store. So, Betamax is really old. So that's all they had. So now we need clothes because we didn't take any clothes because they told us not to. So now we go to the local thrift store. I told you I was 6'5". So the only thing in the entire store was a fluorescent green shirt and purple shorts with tiger stripes. That's all I could wear. So for the next week, I'm walking around this island, super hot, it's humid, with combat boots. I have my combat socks on, and with this fluorescent green shirt and purple shorts. And one day, a couple of days later, I see some kids playing basketball in the driveway. And so as soon as they see me, they don't talk about Michael Jordan, but they definitely want me to play basketball with them and to shoot the ball and dunked a little bit a couple of times and just having a good time with kids. And two gentlemen come out, they were from Latter-day Saints. And I'm like, they're out there with a white shirt, black pants, black tie. And I'm like, why are you guys out here this far on this island with no street lights, no television, with a white shirt, black pants, and black tie? So we had an opportunity to have a few laughs and enjoyed the time. But I enjoyed the trip because we had an opportunity, even though we were there for a week, we had an opportunity, even as we're giving supplies to others, also to enjoy the time that we had with those that may be on the island that we wouldn't even have met had we not been had our plane not worked broken during that time. So just wanted to share a little story about about one of my times in the military.
I gotta say too, I am learning with everybody else here today that Hamp is 6'5". I've never actually met him in person. We've only been working together for a little while, and it's been all remote. And I'm incredibly intimidated now that when I do meet him in person, he's going to be towering over me because I'm 5'10". So
I'm hard to miss, that's for sure.
Alrighty, well, thank you for your responses. And then just for time's sake, we do have to keep it going, keep the program moving forward. So based on that, with question 3, based on your lived experiences, what is an important piece of advice that you would offer to someone just embarking on their service journey? And Mr. Blabina, would you like to start us off with that?
Advice would be keep your nose clean, keep out of trouble, and you'll go a long way.
Thank you so much for your response. Tony, would you like to go next?
yeah, so there's usually like two. I'm getting old now, so people ask me this question fairly frequently, right? There's two things that I say, like, so early in your career, the most important thing is just do a good job at your job, right? It's very easy to think about where I want to be 10 years from now, like what and that's good. You should absolutely do those things, right? Plan for the future and set yourself up to achieve those goals, but don't do it at the expense of, foregoing performance at what you're doing right now. So right now you're a student at Bay College. Be a really good student at Bay College, right? And all those opportunities that you want to pursue in the future, those open up to you when you're really focusing on what's in front of you right now, right? So that's the first piece of advice that I especially give to people early in their careers, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, it's easy in today's world, like we have, all these people like from all over the country on Zoom right now, right? It's very easy to just think about where you are physically as not being super important because we have all these, tools to enable collaboration now, right? But when you get in a position where you're supervising people and you're in charge, you're making decisions and you really have that kind of responsibility, think very hard about where you physically place yourself, because it is very important where you are and what you can do when you are present and at what we like to call the point of friction, like where the problem might be, right? So think about that as well, right? Do a good job of what you're doing, and then think about where you're placing yourself physically in space as well.
Thank you so much. Terry, would you like to go next?
I think I approach it from, I guess, maybe a little bit earlier. Like if somebody asked me, should I do it? That is part of the question also. But really, so what I suggest is to people is just to ask yourself why and really search for the answer. Why are you doing this? Why did you enlist? Why do you want this job? Why is it important to you? or your family or your people, and hold that importance, and then take a measure to what is expected of you and how to do the good job, just like Tony and Bill were saying, like keep your nose clean and do your job and do your job well. Because the importance of completing the tasks of whatever the job is makes everything run. If the person doesn't stick the last lug nut on the wheel, then when Hamp is going to fly us out of there, the landing could be hard. I don't know anything about mechanics. I'm making that up. But to take pride in what you do and to really do the job. And then I think really just to make sure you're ready in all of the ways for what is going to be asked of you and what you're going to receive from it. So my military experience is different than other people's, but I got in early, hit the ground hard, run hard, got 2 years of very intense training. And I've had to frequently ask myself, why am I doing this? How is it important? How do I feel about it? And then you really need to make sure you're ready in all the ways to leave. Like Tony was just saying, like you physically, you're gone away. And Zoom doesn't solve all those things. And to make sure you're willing to give up control, because for a lot of people, when you join and you get assigned to a unit, you don't have a lot of say in where you go or when you go at all. Some people do and some people don't. So it's that sense of like giving up, like I give you the control. And then realizing how to like learn to live in this space where it's a shift. It's a shift. So you get an order, you do the order, you say the thing, you get a good whatever, you get it good, bad, and just that circle of learning. And to make sure that not only is it that you're searching to be a good soldier, that you're searching to be good at your job, that you're searching to be good and true to yourself while you're doing that work. And that and don't be looking to, like Tony said, we don't got to be looking at where we're going all the way down, but like, are you going the way that feels right for you? So it's a complicated and kind of heady thing that's what I would like to talk to people about when they're sort of in that step. Like say yes hard, and say yes and mean it. And then, how do you go about integrating all that into all the rest that you do?
I love that answer so much. Hamp, would you like to lead us to the next speaking?
Oh, yes, thank you so much. So probably the most important piece of advice that I've lived through for the majority of my career was to leave my unit better when I found it and help everyone.
I love that. And then Mr. Kolke, would you like to go next?
I would say take a look at your options, set some goals, notebook some of your career accomplishments, network with future leaders, and always strive for excellence in the physical realm, the mental realm, the emotional realm, and as well as academics and schooling. Lastly, listen to others. Everyone is from many different walks of life, have different experiences, and then learn the different cultures that are out there in the world if you have the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your responses, everybody.
This year, we're excited to bring a trivia component to Veteran Speak. My name is Travis Mills, and I'll be hosting your trivia tonight. I will read 12 questions that are either multiple choice or true or false style answers. If you'd like to share your guesses, please type your answer to the chat feature of Zoom, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. The questions will also be posted in the chat for ease of access. We're going to aim for about 30 seconds per question, and this trivia is only for fun and educational purposes. Question number 1. Which television and comic character was based on a real-life merchant mariner? A. Popeye. B. Donald Duck. or C, Bullwinkle?
Gotta get this one right.
The Donald Duck.
Seeing a couple answers in chat here.
Oh,
Yeah, if you could just keep your answers to chat and not say them out loud, just so everyone can see what you're saying. The answer to question number 1 is Popeye. Was the character based off a real-life merchant mariner?
I thought he was a sailor. I thought he was in the Navy.
That's what I thought too
Yeah.
until I got this script here. Question number 2. Which war was the first in which a U.S. merchant marine participated? A, World War II, B, the U.S. Civil War, or C, the U.S. Revolutionary War?
where's the chat?
That would be,
Hold on.
well, that would be the
Type.
World War II.
Yeah, type it. Yeah, type it. What do you want?
Seeing a couple different answers here. And again, if you'd like to answer, just please go ahead and post your answer in chat. And the answer to question number 2 is C, the U.S. Revolutionary War. Question number 3. Which department does the U.S. Coast Guard operate under during a time of peace? A, the Department of Education, B, the Department of Homeland Security, or C, the Treasury Department?
I'm completely lost. I don't have that type of imagination.
All right, it seems we're all in agreement, and you would be right. The Coast Guard operates under the Department of Homeland Security during a time of peace. Question number 4. True or false? Semper Paratus, Latin for always ready, is the motto of the United States Coast Guard. True or false?
False.
He's killing me.
I said false.
Got a pretty divided crowd here, it looks like.
And I know this is friendly Hamp, but I'm keeping score, just so you know.
So the answer is actually true. Semper Paratus is the motto of the U.S. Coast Guard. Question number 5. Which of the following is the name of the oldest ship still afloat for the United States Navy? A, the Edmund Fitzgerald, B, the USS Enterprise, or C, the USS Constitution? You got one of each answer. Wow. Your score is going to get pretty tight here, it looks like. So the answer to question number 5 is the USS Constitution, number C. Sorry. Question number 6. True or false? Teddy Roosevelt was the first president to serve in the United States Navy. True or false? All right, and the answer to number 6 is false. The first president to serve in the U.S. Navy was John F. Kennedy. Question number 7. Which of the following is the mascot of the United States Marine Corps? A, a bulldog named Chesty, B, a lion named Chewy, or C, a porcupine named Spike? You got some early answers to that one. I know we have a couple Marines in here. And yeah, you guys got it. It is a bulldog named Chesty is the mascot of the United States Marine Corps. Question number 8. True or false? In World War II, the United States Marine Corps earned their nickname Devil Dogs for their heroic action at Belleau Wood in 1918. True or false? The answer to question number 8, well, a bit of a technicality here, is false, because the question named World War II and the Battle of Bella was in World War I in 1918.
I thought it was a typo.
Yeah, that's what I thought there'd be some confusion on. Question number 9. Which of the following is the motto of the United States Army? A, in peace and in war. B, this we'll defend. Or C, honor first.
Finally got some Army questions in here.
You got 2 for each branch here, so I'll give you guys another bit of time here. And it looks like we're mostly in agreement that B, the motto of the U.S. Army, is this we'll defend. The answer is B. Question number 10. When the Army was first established, what were soldiers called? A, the Sons of Liberty. B, Doughboys. Or C, Minutemen.
I feel like this is a trick question too, Travis.
You'll have to wait and find out, I guess. All right. And the answer to question number 10 is C, Minutemen. Was the name of the U.S. Army's first soldiers. Question number 11. What year was the U.S. Army Air Service, the predecessor to the U.S. Air Force, founded? A, 1918, B, 1930, or C, 1969?
You better know this, Hamp.
You can get more than 3, come on.
Hamp is in agony right now.
Yeah, I can see it. All right. Moment of truth here for Hamp. The answer to question number 11 is A, 1918.
I was wrong.
Was
Too.
when the U.S. Army Air Service was founded. Final question, number 12. True or false? The United States Air Force broke the sound barrier in 1939. You got any more answers coming in? And the answer to question number 12 is false. The U.S. Air Force broke the sound barrier in 1947 by pilot Chuck Yeager. That concludes our trivia for the night. Thank you guys for your participation, and I'll be passing it on.
Those are hard questions. Good questions.
Thanks, Travis. I want to thank the panelists for taking the time to share their experiences with us. Now we'd like to invite the audience to participate in a brief question and answer period. Please use the raise hand feature found at the bottom of your Zoom screen and remain muted until called upon to unmute. Once again, please be mindful of time and keep the discussion respectful. Thank you so much. Tonight's event was planned in coordination with our 3 partner national organizations whose missions are critical to expanding awareness of veterans issues and support nationally. We are honored to have representatives from each with us here tonight to share some highlights about their organizations and the work they do. First is Ms. Jan Lipinski, American Legion Department of Michigan.
Hi, I'm on James' screen because none of mine are working. The American Legion is the world's largest veteran service organization, and we do emphasize the word service. Our most major mission right now is the prevention of veteran suicide. We have an initiative called Be the One, where we actually open dialogues and ask people to open dialogues. Check on your fellow service members, former service members. I did a buddy check today on someone, found out he has kidney cancer. And so we're now hooking him in on some things that to help him because he's quite depressed. So we're getting him some mental health help. It's really critical. We do other things. I think if I remember correctly, Abigail's there on the post 9/11 GI Bill. Most people do not realize that the American Legion wrote the original GI Bill, and we also wrote the post 9/11 GI Bill. So this is something we have done. We have advocated since 1919, when Post 1 was formed in France by the son of Teddy Roosevelt and others, and that this has been our mission all along. And I don't know how many of your fellow panelists are Legionnaires. I would love to see a show of hands if you're in the American Legion, other than Mr. Kolke, who I brought into the American Legion. So if you're not, I'd like to invite you to join your local post, because there are a lot of things going on. It's not just a bunch of old men sitting around bars telling war stories anymore. We are truly active in our communities, and this is what we're all about. We're built on 4 pillars: that of national security, care of the veteran and their rehabilitation, care for those who have borne the battle, children and youth, the families, and also on Americanism. Most people don't realize we're the largest sponsor of Boy Scouts, of scouting in the United States. We also are the sponsor of American Legion Baseball. Many people don't know that over 50% of the professional baseball players actually got their start in Legion Baseball. So there's a lot of things we're here to do, and not just sit around telling war stories. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And then I'm going to jump right into Mr. Tony Haas, Veterans for All Voters.
Thank you. So Veterans for All Voters, which Hamp and I are members of, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to mobilize a community of veterans to advocate for election reforms that make our politics less toxic and our government more responsive and more effective, right? So what we don't endorse individual candidates for office or individual political parties or any other individual party position, the policy positions or anything other than specifically electoral reform. Our goal is to implement changes like open primaries, ranked choice voting, things like that, that create a system from which there are incentives that our elected leaders are required to be more responsive to a majority of voters. Because the current system, typically winning a primary election and a partisan primary is what gets you into office, right? So you're incentivized to just drift farther and farther to the extreme of your given partisan ideology in order to keep your job if you are in Congress, right? So we're trying to encourage states to adopt reforms to kind of change that dynamic and give really a bigger voice to a majority of voters, right? We were active in 7 campaigns, statewide campaigns, plus 1 in DC this last year. We had some mixed results. We didn't win some of the statewide campaigns that we were a part of, but we did get a win in DC. DC is now using our recommended election model, and we've seen reforms at municipal level across the country too, including here in Charlottesville, where I am right now. Just this year, passed the ranked choice voting measure for their local elections, right? So it's exciting. When I talk to people about the reform and they get kind of educated about it, they get excited, and it just really it's inspiring to me to see people get kind of activated and animated about it and get excited about politics and about all that in their government, and participating being civically minded, civically engaged, right? It's really encouraging to see people kind of embrace it. And even if you don't support the specific measure that we're proposing, just the fact that people want to kind of take charge, take stewardship of our governance in this country and make it better for everyone is really inspiring. So I think thanks for the time to talk about VAV. We're really excited to be a part of it. Work with terrific people like Hamp, and just couldn't be happier about it, and excited about the work we're going to do in the future as well.
Alrighty, thank you so much for Tony and Jan for sharing about their organizations. And thank you for Mr. Blebenow for the brief explanation of the American Merchant Marine Veterans. And at this time, I would like to open up our brief question and answer period. So again, if anybody has any questions for our panelists, please utilize the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen.
You can go ahead, Miss Aftergood.
Just making sure I'm unmuted. So my question is, as a veteran, those of us who haven't been in the military do our best to honor you. Tonight, I'm wondering, from your years of service, is there anything that you would like to be honored and acknowledged for? It might be something that we wouldn't have thought of, so I would love to hear.
We have no ambitions there. I would like to be known as to my help to the Merchant Marine. That's what I'd like to be honored for. Thank you.
So
if I may, my name is Drew DiMattia. This is my champion. And I think all you folks are inspirational. And I want to thank Dr. June. Again, my name's Drew. We're here in Arlington near our nation's capital. This young man went to the went to the White House for breakfast this morning with the First Lady and the President. And I must say, Judith, I was caught by your inspirational words earlier, and you sized up this whole group saying that we're generous. And you don't even know most of these people. You don't know me, but you're right. We are generous. We're generous with love and compassion for humanity. And this young man right here is my champion, William Balabanow, right? And if I might say, the greatest generation in regards to laying out the groundwork and defeating tyranny on both sides of the world back in World War II grants us the positions we have today, knowing that our younger generations of veterans have signed that blank check and gone out there and done what we need to do on a constant basis, because humanity is questionable sometimes. We can't always determine the reactions on how people react to one another. But I know one thing, all you folks are absolutely inspirational, and I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to say a few words. So this guy right here is my champion. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll say, I think for the most part, I feel that most people I talk to do have a genuine sense of gratitude and support for service members, and we're all very thankful for that. One thing that I do kind of have a little bit of a concern about, I guess maybe, or it is oftentimes when people are not very familiar with the military, maybe they don't know a service member, or they're just not really familiar with it. There tends to be not necessarily a feeling of like support or gratitude, but almost a feeling of sympathy for service members. And I like to remind people, you don't have to feel sorry for us. we all did this for a reason. We all knew what we were doing, and a lot of us chose to continue to do it. Hamp did it for 3 decades, you know. So we we're certainly not looking for sympathy. Gratitude, support, understanding, and an open dialogue like we're having right now. That's the best way I think to honor to veterans and service members.
Does anybody else want to jump in and answer that question?
Yeah, I
I
guess
will. Oh, you go, Hemp.
oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the thing, and I don't say this out loud on recorded sessions with people I don't know, but I'm going to, because I feel good about this. I served as the only female doing a job that was very strenuous, very close contact with all the people in my unit. We went to places where there were not locker rooms for two sexes. They were not ready to have a female be in service at those places. And that's okay. And we managed, and I suggested and implemented many changes because what I saw was people felt bad for me not having the things I needed, right? So then I didn't want my colleagues to feel bad that I didn't have the stuff I needed. I wanted to go figure out how to get the stuff I needed so that wasn't interesting, right? I just wanted it to be like, yes, there's a shower. Yes, there's a bathroom. And it took me pretty quick to get that. So that was not a topic of conversation. And I served at a time when, from 88 to 2002, in a time when we talked differently about men's and women's and what's equal and what's safe and all of those things. And so I'm grateful that I lived through the kind of easy time of making transitions to give people what they need to do their jobs, regardless of what makes them the same or different. And I will never get recognized for that. It will never happen because it's an ugly truth. And so I say that to you now. That would be the thing. And thank you for asking, Judith.
Carrie, on behalf of all those that come behind you, I thank you for all of your efforts and your work.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, first time. Sometimes the first person doesn't always see it. It's you plant the seeds that are watered that others can benefit from. So, awesome. I think for me, I just wanted to remember that serving others is contagious, and it's okay to help one another. Sometimes in the military, on the darker end of things, sometimes we can forget that we're all volunteers, and that each of us, I shouldn't. People outside the gate should not thank me for my service more than those that are inside, and sometimes we find that a lot. And I just wanted to serve others and know that it was okay to serve and do the best I very could. And there's to serve one another. There's times when I found airmen in certain positions I was in, serving as a first sergeant. I find airmen on the worst day of their life or the worst day of their career. And so how you get them to a better place in life and walking alongside them and let them know it'll be okay, and how the steps to be able to find a better station in that season of their life or just in life in general, trying to help them. I just found that was good. I just wanted to be everybody's chief. For me, I was an enlisted member. And so I just wanted to serve as many people as I could to help out. But that's what I want to be known for, is just serving others and others that are also serving, and to let it be contagious.
Thank you. And would Mr. James like to join in and have anything to add on that?
They had covered pretty much everything. I would also like to reflect on those families or significant others that had their experiences listened to, because a veteran's perspective is a little bit different than a significant other. And I think there's times that, Tony mentioned sympathy. I think there's times that we need to think about empathy, and that empathy is not regarded as much as it did before. But families played a big role in each of our lives, and my champion has always been my mom. And some of the things that I did over my 29-year career kept her up on many occasions, and it reflects on their dedication and support of each and every one of the veterans that are currently serving, who have served, and who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. I think that I'll just leave it at that. And everyone had great answers, and I enjoyed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kolke. And then again, I would just like to thank all of the organizations for speaking about the important work that you're doing. And we're grateful to be partnered with you for Veterans Speak. And then to close out our evening, I'd like to introduce our club advisor, Dr. June Cleese, who will offer a few thoughts and additional thank yous before we conclude for the evening.
Well, thank you all, everyone. What a delightful evening of conversation and some fun with the trivia. And Judith, lovely words. It was just such an honor to witness this and be part of the third annual Veterans Speak hosted by the Bay College Civics Corps. We like to thank our attendees, especially those of you who stuck with us to the end. We bring together veterans of different generations who in various capacities have served our country in peace and in war, as the Merchant Marine motto likes to highlight. The stories we heard emphasized the importance of individual service, valor, and sacrifice, and showed us how powerful our shared bonds as Americans are in overcoming obstacles, challenges, and the forces seeking to tear us apart. If not for the cooperation and collaboration of our military branches and the Merchant Marine, the United States would not have been able to defend our republic's freedom from the host of tyrannical and autocratic forces that destroyed lives and sought to end liberty and justice itself in the mid-20th century and beyond. These intergenerational storytelling events can help us remind ourselves about just how much we have in common as Americans, despite any actual perceived or manufactured differences, past or present. Studies show that most Americans believe that multi-generational experiences are important in building unity to overcoming problems, and people actually crave opportunities to listen and learn intergenerationally to forge a better future together. The work of the Civics Corps promotes these kinds of experiences, and we hope that tonight's event helped inspire you to create opportunities to listen to stories of others and work together with people of different generations for the greater good of our republic. In addition to our panelists, we'd like to thank the staff, faculty, and administration of Bay College, along with our partnered organizations represented here tonight. And of course, our speaker, Ms. Judith Aftergood. Excuse me. I'd also like to thank my colleagues at Waging Dialogue and the Civics Corps Advisory Board, which includes Ms. Melissa Amor, Dr. Deanna Beachley, Mr. Matt Bugatti, Ms. Patricia Clay, Dr. Sandra Cosgrove, Ms. Heather Kreidler, and Dr. Alice Mayer. They are an invaluable team of support for the work of the Civics Corps. On behalf of the wonderful and hardworking students of the Bay College Civics Corps and myself, it has been an honor to make this intergenerational dialogue possible for our community and for our veterans. And to our audience, we sincerely hope that you found this evening inspirational and an encouraging reminder that as Americans, we're still forging a more perfect union for ourselves and posterity in, as the old saying goes, this great experiment in democracy. May freedom ring. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Strive for excellence, all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
You on, Bill.